We've spent the last 2 years building our ultimate van that we've always wanted to build. And we've made some mistakes along the way and learned some things that we want to share with you. So we've come up with a couple different topics and see if you guys can learn something from our mistakes. So the first one is,
don't overthink sound deadening. We've covered it in several of the different videos recently, but we went with lizard skin sound deadening and ceramic insulation, sprayed that all over the van. It worked really well, but ultimately it was expensive, it was a mess, and yeah, it was an expensive mess.
Everybody overthinks sound deadening, in our opinion. By the time you get your 3M thinsulate up in the walls and then you get your walls up, that's going to be a lot of sound deadening. And I think that's pretty much going to be enough, because what's going to be louder than the metal of the actual van vibrating is going to be that cup that you forgot and left in your sink and is rolling around. All of the silverware that is clanking around inside of the drawer. Drawers in general are just kind of noisy anyhow.
The walls in general.
The walls in general. So there's going to be like a lot of stuff in the van that's going to be making noise. Oh, bike helmets clanking together in the back. Like those are pretty noisy. So don't overthink sound deadening. I think that's kind of our number one thing that kind of wasted a bunch of time in our build. So the next one is, don't DIY your walls. We asked everybody at the start of the build what they wanted to see. We got a lot of people that were saying that they wanted us to do the Adventure Wagon wall kit. And we got a lot of people who were saying, yeah, we want to see that, but we also want to see you DIY it. It was a lot less expensive, but the labor.
It took so long. It was so frustrating. It was the two of us and Grace and Chad helping us out, and all four of us were just so frustrated at the end of it. It was just a lot of work. It looks really good.
It looks
real
good.
Real nice, but it took so long. I don't think I would ever want to do that again. I would 100% pay the extra money for a wall kit. There are other kit options out there other than just Adventure Wagon wall kits. Like, for example, Featherbuilt, based out of Denver, they have put together a fantastic wall kit option that's a lot less expensive than the Adventure Wagon kit.
They use low profile Unistrut, which is less expensive than L-Track. It's not any less strong or anything like that, just different.
It's just different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'd probably definitely consider going that route instead of the DIY walls option. Because I had a pretty significant black eye during that whole process. So if you don't remember that video, we'll link to it.
The next thing that we really learned and kind of messed up on this one was to make sure parts are available before starting a project and to pre-plan your projects so that you have all of your parts available before you start that project. I know we spent a lot of extra money on like expedited shipping to try to get parts to us when we realized that we were halfway through a project and we didn't have that part.
So the other one that kind of like hurt us was 24 volt versus 12 volt specifically in terms of alternator charging. Whenever we did the electrical system, we made that video and everything like that, we actually had to leave out alternator charging. We wanted to do a 24 volt system because everybody had so many questions about it and we had never done a 24 volt system on our channel. There is a 12 volt to 24 volt buck boost for alternator charging, but Victron ultimately stopped making it. They also were promising a release of a new smart buck boost Orion device that was going to be taking its place, and they said that it was going to be out next quarter. Well, that was 2 years ago, and so it's still not out as of right now. And so that kind of like, put us into a bind, and so we had to come up with an alternative solution, which ended up being dual Orions, which works, it's fine, but it's a lot of extra wiring to do that. So, I hate making things more complicated than necessary. And so if we had the proper parts actually available and not just like promised to be available, that would have been wildly helpful and would have decreased a lot of headache there.
And something that we get questions on a lot is actually 48 volt systems, which is a similar problem. There's just not parts available. Sure, you can wire your battery bank into 48 volts. You can get a 48 volt inverter charger, but that's kind of where everything halts. And it's really a lot more difficult to find 48 volt fuses that are compatible with the higher voltages.
Specifically switches, battery switches is,
Mm-hmm.
the little red battery switch that everybody likes to use. It's rated for 48 volts like actual, and it takes nearly 60 volts to charge a 48 volt battery bank. So you have to use a separate breaker with the box, which ends up being a couple $100 by the time it's all said and done, and it's just not feasible for most systems. So that kind of gets people into a bind. The next thing is custom equals a ton of work. I think we touched on this during walls, and how, our custom walls, it just took a ton of time, weeks of labor. And we could have done a wall kit and it would have taken less time for realistically not much more money. The Adventure Wagon kit would have been a lot more money, but like that Featherbuilt kit, it's not much more expensive than what we did. So it's like, you have to start weighing, the custom with a ton of additional labor versus a prefab thing that's going to cost maybe a little bit more, but it's only going to take you a little bit of time to do. In electrical systems, we always have people reaching out to us for custom electrical systems. And what we have going on in our shop is semi-custom. All the wiring kits are already pre-configured and pre-designed. You can mix and match all of the different kits, but it's not like a full custom thing where I have to sit down for 40 hours worth of diagramming and stuff like that. So, you have to weigh that option of custom and tons of work versus semi-custom that's going to get you what you need.
Another good example here of custom equals tons of work is, we designed a custom roof rack and helped bring that to market. Now that was a lot of work, and I know Nate spent a ton of time going back and forth with Unaka and with Rich Solar and with Nomadic and making sure that all of the parts were going to work together. We even custom designed a new solar panel and brought that to market. That was a big project for us, and ultimately, it was worth it for us because we were able to bring a couple of different new products to market. But if we were just trying to do this for just our one van, that would have been an excessive amount of work and time and effort and money put into that whole process.
I think that's kind of a good segue into the next one, which is everything you do is going to take longer than you expect. I think I am the pinnacle of that. Whenever we would be filming these and Grace would be like, hey Nate, how long is it going to be before you're ready to start filming? I'd be like, 30 minutes. 30 minutes ended up being 2 hours most of the time. So like a factor of times 4. So everything is going to take longer than you expect.
And similarly there, we expected this entire van build to take us under 1 year. We were starting it in February and we were planning to be done by December, absolutely complete. We didn't finish until the following August.
Yeah.
After that, so nearly a year later.
Because we
10 months.
anticipated putting out a new van build video every single week for 52 weeks, so 1 year's worth of content. And we ended up having to kind of space that out with shorter videos, that were still hopefully valuable, but ultimately were not van build videos because some of those projects took longer than a week to do. And when you're trying to put out a video every week, if you have a project that takes 3 weeks, well, I'm pretty bad at math, but I think we can all do the math on that one. So everything is going to take longer than you expect. So when we go to events, we do electrical systems checks for people who are having problems. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I spent 4.5 minutes assembling this electrical system and it's not working. It's like, well, surprise, surprise, you only spent 4 minutes doing this thing. It sucks when something takes longer, but you can also squeeze in better workmanship whenever something is taking longer. You're not rushing through a project. You know, if you have a van builder or a van upfitter who's promising that your van's going to be done in 7 days, like, you just got to start asking, you know, what corners are they cutting to get that thing done in 7 days? I mean, sure, there are kits out there, the Featherbuilt kit. It's like they can install the wall kit in 1 day. It probably takes 1 day to do insulation. You know, if you just bought a random, you know, portable power generator kit and plopped it in the floor and strapped it down and called that your electrical system, yeah, sure, that's a 1 day build, but you have to ask what features and corners are being cut in order to get that 7 day build. Soapbox. Any thoughts about that?
Nope, you covered it.
Okay. So the last thing is, and this is for us, but this is more for y'all as well, but your build is your build, and you brought up this point.
Yeah, you know, of course, us putting this all out on YouTube opens us up to a lot of comments, and of course we love hearing you guys' comments and everything, but we also get a lot of negative comments on why did you do this like that, or you shouldn't have done
this.
You should have done this, you shouldn't have done that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, our build was for us. It was built for us, for our lifestyle, and for what we needed it for. And your build is going to be the same. It's going to be for you, for your lifestyle. You know, there are some people that a shower is an absolute non-negotiable. But for us, a shower doesn't make any sense. Nate can't fit in most of the showers in a van anyway. It's not going to be comfortable for us. We're just going to find a campground or a gym or something like that to shower. So that's not important to us. If it's important to you, then do that. Similarly with an electrical system, we get told all the time that our electrical system is way too big for anybody to need that much power. And that's just not true. Some people do need that much power. When we were on the road full time, we needed that much power to be able to work full time while traveling full time and make sure that we have the power to be able to log into meetings and get our work done and run our Wi-Fi and things like that. So just remember that everybody is going to have an opinion, but ultimately at the end of the day, your opinion is the only one that matters in your build.
And Facebook groups are terrible. There's
Stay
a
out of
lot.
Facebook groups
There's
when
a
you're
lot
building.
of like, I mean, sure, you know, if somebody is negative about, you know, your paint color and stuff like that, like whatever, like that doesn't really matter. But you know, there's a lot of Facebook groups where people think they know what they're actually talking about, specifically on electrical. There's a lot of really, really bad advice out there. You know, we had a comment on one of our videos saying, hey, that wire, you don't need to use wire that big to power your 3,000 watt 12 volt inverter. You could use something smaller, like 10 gauge is probably fine. It's like, probably fine? Like, that's what you're going to base?
It's not.
So it's like there are people out there who are purposefully just trolling and trying to, you know, I delete that stuff off of our comment section. That way, if any of y'all are reading through there, you're not getting misguided, thinking that that's something that's correct. But Facebook groups are notorious for that kind of like poor, that blatantly incorrect information. So I think that was the last little warning I had to give there. So anything else?
No, I think that's it. And
Cool.
yeah, I think that's a great topic to end on, is just remember that your build is your build and you're doing this for you, and whatever it comes out as is going to be awesome.
And you're going to learn something new. See you next time.